So I'm gonna go ahead and preface this before anything else. This video is meant for like beginners. Like this is meant for like your coppers, your bronzes. At the very highest, you're like low silver. Like low silver is the highest I would maybe recommend this video for. If you're already like mid silver, gold, if you're fucking champ, just right off rip, this is not a video for you because it's more beginner shit than anything. Because it's gonna be all about how to shoot in Siege. Because going from one game to Siege, the shooting feels night and day. And in some ways that's great, in some ways that's not great. The very first thing I want to drill in, about shooting in Siege is you need to learn how to full auto and pull down. That is not like optional. That is not a recommended learning. That is something as a Siege player, you must learn one way or another. Because I'll see people like go to peek for a duel, let the recoil take control, and literally let the gun just do its natural recoil. And that just, it's inaccurate, it just leaves you exposed. Like, look at that spread. That spread right there, I'm not gonna hit anyone unless they happen to peek on the first shot. So that is not happening. You've gotta learn how to be able to pull down your mouse and keep your spread as tight as possible. Because if you can't, like, if that is something you're gonna struggle with, you either need to like go to it in the nicest way possible. Like I'm trying not to be mean about this. If you have trouble with pulling down, either you have to, you know, learn how to pull down, which for some people is very uncomfortable at first, or consider that Siege might just not really be your game. I'm trying not to be mean about that. Because like doing this is not as effective as just pulling down. Like this right here, this is what you want to be doing a majority of the time. You want to pull down and keep your shots as accurate as possible. So that is my very first thing for beginning players. Learn to pull down. Don't be afraid to fuck up pulling down. Like don't be afraid to sort of miss pulling down, and don't be afraid to like over pull down. It is better that you do a shitty job pulling down but get used to the feeling than to not even try. That right there is what you want to go for the long run. You want to go for these... Okay, granted, horizontal sway on that one. You want to go for these, like, unload the full clip rather than... Like, you don't want to be doing that burst fire kind of thing. Second thing I want to go over is hip fire versus, like, you know, ADS. So you can notice when you're hip firing, when you don't have your gun up like this, you can see the reticle has spread on it. That is how far your bullets will go. And, you know, good luck hitting anything with spread like that. There's a hole there. I basically just made a new constellation. Whereas if you're ADS, you are hitting exactly where the reticle is, and that is exactly what you want. So you want to have your gun up as much as possible. Like, as much as humanly possible. If you're going to take a duel, have it up. The only time you shouldn't have your, like, gun up, honestly, when you should be sprinting, but that's its own topic, is when you know for a fact there's no enemy in this area. Like, if you've droned out the entirety of this room, if you've droned out the entirety of this room, and there is no chance possible that the enemy is in either of these, and you know for a fact you're safe and you cannot die to anything, that is when you want to sprint. And when you're done with that, you ADS when there might be an enemy. Because even if you don't know the enemy's there, just on the off chance there's an enemy, if you don't have your gun up and you just walk through here and don't have your gun up, you're going to have to deal with the ADS animation. Meanwhile, if someone is, you know, holding the angle, they probably already have their gun up. So by the time you walk through here, they've got the shot already. Whereas you have to pretty much go, and you are probably not winning that one. So ADS when there might be an enemy, and stay hipped, stay honestly sprinting when there is not 100% for a fact not an enemy there. Like, that is the key difference, or the key timing on when you should ADS versus when you should, like, sprint and hip fire. Or not really hip fire, just don't have the gun up. I had to go to defense because I was out of ammo. The third thing I want to go over when it comes to shooting is sort of leaning and how to position your body, which sounds advanced, but once you actually see it, like what I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just something you're gonna have to like keep in mind. So Siege has leaning, and you'd be surprised how many people do not lean. When someone goes to peek a door, what I'll see them do is put their whole body into it, and that just makes you a big target. What you want to be doing is leaning so that you only a little bit of your hitbox is exposed. You're kind of safe while you peek these, not as much as your body is exposed, because like this, you're basically just a square saying hit me, but like this, you're not really much of a square and more of like a triangle saying hit me, but you know, screaming it less loudly. So get used to leaning. Lean in a way that will hide your body. So like if you're leaning like this, you are pretty much just exposing your body before the gun. But if you're leaning like this, you're sort of like hiding behind this column the whole time. You want to figure out the direction to lean. You want to get comfortable leaning. You don't want to put your whole body into anything, unless of course you're sprinting. And then, you know, lean as you get to the door, run through, lean as you get to the door, etc., etc. As you play Siege more, and as you get used to like shooting and the general how fights go, you'll start to notice these kind of patterns. Like a lot of the game really just comes down to take space, here's the door. Take the space, hold the door. Like it's you figure out the rhythm as you keep playing. And the last thing I want to go over really quick is crosshair discipline, which is its own video. Maybe I'll do it one day, but for now, this is the most I'm going to do about it. Crosshair discipline is knowing where to put your crosshair. Because at a minimum, the rule of thumb I use is your crosshair should be where the enemy is going to be. Like if I've got diffuser right here, just right here in this corner, I know that the enemy has to come from here or here, which basically means, from my point of view, they have to come from roughly this way, this sort of angle. If my crosshair is over here, I now basically have to flick to hit that target. Whereas, if they're doing the smart thing and checking the entire room, they're probably just gonna swing me before I even have my crosshair on them. You want to minimize the amount of work you need to do to land your shot. This right here, having your crosshair in the middle of nowhere, is adding more work to your shot, as well as being, you know, not having your ADS up. So you don't want to be sitting here non-ADS just staring at a wall. You want to be ADS'd at the angle where the enemy is going to be. There's a chance they might come from that door and go that way, but it's more likely they will come from this way or just come down this hall. So keep your crosshair here, keep it ADS'd. If they come this way, you take them out, and if they don't come this way, then you better hope you can hit your flick. Like, flicking is neat, flicking looks cool, it's flashy. Flicking is a lot fucking harder to land your shots than people think it is. Like, flicking is the result of playing games for, like, weeks, months, years. Like, these flicks here are because I've been using this mouse for how long? I know my DPI, I know my sensitivity, I know how much it takes to move my mouse that way. And even then, my flicks are still really inaccurate. Keep your crosshair where an enemy is going to be at all times. Like, don't do this, like, middle of nowhere sort of, like, know where you're looking, know what you're looking at, and keep your crosshair where an enemy is going to be at all times. And you're not always right about that. You know, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're aiming here and there's a guy here and you just have to flick. That part's, you can't avoid that. But keep your crosshair where an enemy's going to be as much as you can. The rule of thumb that I use, like ignoring roamers, ignoring flankers, etc., the rule of thumb is you want to always be aiming generally in the direction of sight. Like sometimes this is sight, so you want to roughly keep your crosshair in this sort of direction, no matter where you are. And if there's roamers, you know, be ready for the roamers, that kind of thing. But generally, keep your crosshair where enemies are going to be, and enemies are usually going to be around sight. So yeah, that's my really quick, like, shooting guide, things to know for, like, beginners, like, brand new, just installed Siege this week kind of beginners. Siege is a hard fucking game. If you are struggling with shooting in Siege, that is the point. Like, Siege is not really like Call of Duty where it's like, where you just, you know, go lights out, gun everything down. Siege is a very hard game. Every round is 3 minutes. It's like 2 minutes of setting up and then actually 1 minute of things happening. Siege is fucking hard. So if you get any kills, if you get assists, if you get blood on anyone, take that as a point of pride. Because I don't care what anyone fucking says. I don't care if, like, million-year players are like, oh, Siege is so easy. You just do this and this. Siege is a hard fucking game. It is a really fucking hard game. It's not Overwatch. It's not Call of Duty. It's not fucking Battlefield. It is a very difficult game that will use a lot of your fucking mental bandwidth. And if your mental bandwidth is fucked, your mechanics are also going to be partially fucked. So, you know, bear that in mind. Siege is a hard game. Just work on your basics, work what you can, and gradually get up to a point where your mechanics are, you know, pretty decent. I don't know what the fuck I was shooting at to prove my point there. And, yeah. Peace. Remember to pull down. Like, full auto pull down. Like, don't, that's the big thing I want you to take away. Don't just let the recoil recovery do the work. Actually learn to pull down and be a threat. And, yeah. Peace.